to iSolved University and our iSolved Time admin training. After completing part 2 of this training, you will be able to navigate your employee's time card and understand the items on our action bar. Let's go ahead and pull up iSolved and take a look at the time card. To get to the time card, you can either use our search menu at the top of the screen and type in time card. You'll notice we have employee self-service, time, and time card. So you can use our search, or we can navigate with our menu items. So we could go to employee self-service, time, and then click on the time card link. Because this is our first time logging in, the system is giving us a list of employees. This list allows you to select an employee and their time card will populate. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Mary Adams' name, and we'll notice that our time card has now populated. The first thing I want to do is go through the layout of our time card, and then we'll talk about our blue action bar together. Now, if we start up at the top of the time card, you'll notice we've got our employee's name listed, as well as some basic information just off to the right. Now, to the left of our employees' time cards, we've got a couple of icons that I'd like to talk you through. On the far left-hand side, you'll notice we've got a count of employees. So my system is saying 1 of 40, meaning that I have 40 employees that I have rights to view. I can use the arrow keys on the left and the right to toggle through my list of 40 employees alphabetically. So you'll notice if I choose the forward arrow key, it's bringing us to the next employee in the list, whose name is Shane Adams. So again, forward or backwards brings you through the list of employees alphabetically. Now just off to the right of those arrow keys, we've got a list icon, which if we select it, brings us back to the full list of employees we have to select from. So rather than scrolling employee through employee, you can simply come back to the list and select their name. The last icon is a magnifying glass, which allows you to search for employees. Now to search for employees, you will use either their last name or employee ID. So if I type in Adams in our search field, any employee that has the last name Adams has populated. You'll notice I have a Mary Adams and a Shane Adams. I simply select their name and the time card appears. Now in the center of our screen, you'll notice we've got our pay period date range listed. Your pay period could be weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, or something completely different. Whatever your pay period date range is what's going to be listed. We've got arrow keys off to the left and to the right, which allow you to toggle forward or backwards a pay period. Now in my environment, I have a bi-weekly pay period, so as I'm using these arrow keys, it's bringing me either forward or backwards 2 weeks. Just off to the right of that, we have the ability to change the view. Now by default, you'll always be looking at your pay period view, but you have the ability to adjust your time card view to a day, week, or back to your pay period view. So I'm going to go ahead and select the day. You'll notice that it's giving us the set day we were looking at. We can choose week, which is going to give us just a 1-week snapshot, or again, the pay period brings you back to your default pay period view. In the event that you'd like to look at a specific date on the time card, rather than having to use the date, the week, or the pay period view, you can simply select the date range in the middle of the screen, type in the date you'd like to look at, and hit go. Now beneath our date range and view options, you'll notice we've got our days of the week, and then beneath it, a grid-like view of our time card. If we start off on the left-hand side, you'll notice we've got our time listed from 12 a.m. and if I scroll down to 12 p.m., and it's all listed in 1-hour increments. You do have the ability to adjust your view all the way up to a 15-minute increment view. So rather than looking at the time as 12, 1, 2, 3, we can hit the plus magnifier and go to 30-minute increments or even those 15-minute increments. This just allows you to zoom in on the time card if necessary. Now I'm going to change this back to the hour view because that's my favorite. And let's talk about the color coding that you're seeing. Now we're going to start with the blue shading that you're seeing on most days. If your company is utilizing the scheduling piece of iSolved, the blue shading represents the time that the employee has been scheduled to work. So we can see that the shading is Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for Mary Adams. So light blue represents the scheduled hours for your employee. Now we've got some other colors on the time card, so let's talk about them. We're going to start with Thursday the 8th, and the orange 8 a.m. punch is listed. Now the orange is in there because of an alert. Alerts are notifications letting you know that something has happened on the time card that the management team would like you to see. In this scenario, you'll notice if I hover over the 8 a.m. punch, my slide out window tells me what kind of alerts are on this specific day. Now, alerts are tied to different severity levels, which are then tied to colors. So anything that's low is going to show up in blue, anything that's medium or high is going to show up in orange, and critical is red. Now, I want you to keep in mind that any critical alerts mean that you or your payroll processor would not be able to process payroll until this alert had been corrected. So for this scenario, because my 8 a.m. punch has a low and medium alert, it always takes the color for the highest severity. So my missing punch is a medium, which is then turning my punch color orange. So color coding is all driven by the alerts. Now if we look at Friday the 9th, you'll notice our time is showing up in blue. If it shows up in blue, those are just our standard hours. So if an employee clocks in and clocks out throughout the day, they have no alerts associated to them, their punches will show up in that color. If we move along on the time card, any hours that show up in gray are not worked. They're absence hours that have been added. So things like your vacation time, sick time, paid days off, and any other absences you might be tracking. Now we'll notice that Friday the 16th is highlighted in yellow. Yellow means that this is the current day. So right now it's December 16th. It always highlights the current day. Now what I want to do is shift forward into a new pay period that contains a holiday. Holidays are always going to show up in bright green. Based on your company's setup, the holidays will auto-populate on the time card with the amount of hours that you have designated. So my employee qualifies for holiday rules, which is why their holiday hours have already been applied. Now I'm going to jump back to the previous week and let's take a look at the totals down here at the bottom. The first section represents the total hours per day, as well as the total hours per view. You'll notice that underneath each day, it's going to add up all of the punches to tell you how many hours the employee has on that given day. If we look to the far right-hand side, you'll notice that it gives us the total hours for the view that we're looking at. Beneath that, we've got our earnings summary. The earnings summary is going to take the total hours and let you know what types of hours occurred in that day. Was it vacation? Was it regular, overtime, sick? Again, it's simply taking the total hours and based on your hours allocation rules, breaking out the types of hours. Now beneath that, we've got labor summary. If your company is utilizing labor values and having employees clock in and out of labor such as jobs, locations, departments, divisions, those would all be listed down here at the bottom. So for Mary Adams, she happens to be clocking in or tied to a default location and department, so that time is applied here. You'll notice on the left-hand side, it's giving me location 2 and department 201. Again, you're getting this in a daily view, and if you look to the far right-hand side, we're looking at the per pay period view. Now let's shift our eyes to the top of the time card and talk about our blue action bar. Our blue action bar has quite a few functions on the time card, so let's start with edit and move our way across. The edit option allows you to go into edit mode and make adjustments on the time card. If you have not selected the edit mode, you'll notice that as I'm clicking on the time card, nothing is happening. In order to make adjustments, whether that be add punches, add hours, or edit existing information, we have to be in our edit mode. You'll notice that once I've hit edit, as I click around on the time card, windows are going to start popping up. So I'm going to pretend I'm going to add some time onto the time card. You'll notice that as I'm clicking, we're seeing these add record options. Now I'm going to hit cancel because we're going to talk about adding records in our next session. So on the blue action bar, verification, if we select it, is here if your company has decided to have your supervisors, managers, or you as the admin approve the employees' timesheets. So the approval process is more of an electronic sign-off that you've reviewed the time card and it's ready to be submitted to payroll. Now, depending on the company, the verification may be required or it could be optional. Some companies require that the verification be completed prior to running payroll. Others just keep it more for record-keeping purposes. So you'll notice in my environment right now, I have a section for the supervisor to sign off as well as the manager to sign off. In order to verify the time card, they simply select the checkbox next to their role, and you'll notice up at the top, we get the verification successful. So again, verification allows managers, supervisors, and admin users to electronically sign off on time cards. Now the next item on our action bar is our Analyze Rules. Analyze Rules allows you to look deeper into the information on the time card. So if I select this, a detailed information screen is going to populate. What this is doing is breaking down all of your time rules in the order that they happen. So you'll notice up here at the top, it's giving us some time card punches. These are the punches that are on the time card. And the great thing about this screen is it gives you detail. The time card itself allows you to see the punch time, the punch date, and the labor values they might have selected. But our Analyze Rules gives you a little bit more information. The source, was this created on the web? Was it created via the mobile app? Who was the user that added the information? And if it was created with the mobile app, what was their GPS location? So you'll notice it's breaking the items down by punches and also by hours. So as you scroll through our Analyze Rules, it's taking a look at all of the rules that you have in place and applying them in the order that they should happen. Now the next one we're going to look at is our time card report. The time card report, if we select it, is going to give us a PDF version of Mary's time card. Now this is great for you to print off for maybe attendance purposes, or even if the employee would like to keep record of each of their timesheets, they can run this as well. You'll notice on the left-hand side we've got information such as the date, if there are any alerts on their time card. Remember, alerts are things like missing punches or not following their schedule. We've got the date, their start time, end time, and if their time was tied to any labor values. And then on the right-hand side, we've got earning summaries and hour summaries. The last item we're going to review in this section is the schedule option. Again, if your company is utilizing the schedule feature, not only will you see those scheduled hours on the time card represented by the blue shading, if we select the schedule option, a PDF is going to appear with all of their schedule for the pay period. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, it's telling them the days they're scheduled to work, the days of the week, their shift name. Now in my environment, my shift name happens to be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but your company may have set shift names, morning shift, mid shift, night shift. That'll appear in the shift name column. And then we've got the start time, end time, and if they were scheduled to a specific labor value, such as location, department, or division. You have made it to the end of part 2 of this training.